Good evening, and thank you for joining the Board of Select meeting on May 27th, 2020. We have been in the process this week of discussing and approving the 1/12 budgets for the month of July for departments and committees, and we are continuing that process tonight, and we will be doing it again tomorrow night too. And there's a few other things on the agendas for each night as well. As part of the process for the 1/12 budgets, the executive board has to approve all of these budgets, and then they will go next week to the finance committee for their review for a week. And then we will get some help from town council and others to apply for a 1/12 budget with the Department of Revenue. So that's the process that we're going on. And it's very important that we have accurate budgets. And unfortunately, last night, there were several budgets we could not approve, and unfortunately, our town accountant and a few department heads were not prepared. So I'm hoping that we are prepared tonight, because this is a very important process that the select board needs to attend to. So we will start right in on the 1/12 budget reviews, and trying to clean up, as I say, from last night. We got a very late email from the town accountant on some of these budgets, which unfortunately it was so late coming, I didn't have adequate time to review. So I'm going to ask her to explain them for the public so that we can get on with our very important business. So Sharon, let's start off with your budget, the town accountant budget. Sharon, we're waiting for you.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so I sent my budget to you this afternoon. As I had said last night, my zero budget is $174,687, which is less than 2020 budget.
And our question to you last night was that this include the department head salary adjustments that were made?
Yes, it does.
It does? Okay.
Yep.
Jeff, you concur with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any discussion, Tina?
Sharon, I just have one question. What you presented back the first go-around with your budget was a little bit higher. I have it at 175,104. We might have talked about this last night, so forgive me if we did. What you presented in your revised budget tonight is 174,688. What is that? It's about, well, I guess it's only about $500 lower.
That's the difference. It's the difference in the clerical. The first budget, there was COLA
Oh,
in the
okay.
clerical salaries, and this one is not.
Thank you.
Any questions?
You're welcome.
Good evening, Sharon. It's John. How are you?
Good.
Last night we were talking about the FY21 budgets up
Yep.
against the overall roll-up spreadsheet. We asked you to provide us an updated spreadsheet showing the department head salaries embedded in each line item, right?
Yep.
Looks like you sent us over something late this afternoon.
Yep.
I want to observe that I don't see the changes made in that spreadsheet, Sharon. For
Oh,
example,
it's all in there.
it is, huh? So can you help me
All
understand? Okay, I'm sorry, hold on, just need some clarification. It's all in there.
Okay,
The town accountant budget is, let's see, org number 01135. The annual town meeting for 5/19 budget was 173,356. And
Yep.
what is 14,893?
that is taking the 20 budget, taking out the old salary, putting in the new department head salary, and dividing it by 12.
So if I take 14,893.58 and I multiply it by 12, I should get 174,688.
You probably won't get that exactly. The original 1/12 that was in there was 1/12 of the 20 budget, because they started with, it has to be at least that. That was my base.
Mm-hmm.
I updated all of those numbers with the annualized department head salaries.
Yep. So if Ms., you just confirmed to Ms. Hine that the FY21 number for your line is 174,688, and if that is inclusive of the numbers that we just talked about, and I divided that by 12, the spreadsheet you sent this afternoon should read 14,557.33. Is that right? Because it doesn't.
No, I know.
Okay.
No, because the numbers that I had on the 1/12 budget, the base for that was the 2020 budget.
Sharon, I'm sorry you cut out there. Could you repeat that, please?
Sorry.
That's okay.
So, but the parameters for the 1/12 budget was stated that it had to be at least 1/12 of the 2020 budget. So what I have there in that first column is what we voted at town meeting for 2020. That's what I originally had in the 1/12 budget, was that divided by 12. That was enough to get approved by DOR. I increased some of the numbers that I knew were going to be higher than that for 21. Specifically, it was workers' comp and liability insurance and county retirement.
Yep, we got
You
that.
would then ask me, huh?
We see that down below.
Yeah. You would then ask me to put in an additional 50,000 into the selectmen and kind of carry that through. I did that.
Yeah.
And then I just went back and took the 2020 budget that you can see on the left-hand side, took out the salary number that was in there for the department head, put in the new salary, the new annualized salary for 21, just to give us a little more of a buffer. I did that for all of the departments going down. And then FinCom, as I had said in my email, just not that we were going to use it, but rather seeing something in every line as opposed to having zeros where, I know we're not using the election budget in July, we're not using, animal control in July, but I went back and took 1/12 of any budget that was sitting there.
Thank you, Sharon.
And-
Could I ask you a question again?
Yep.
The amount shown for the town accountant for the 112 budget
Yep,
is about $500 more, roughly, than what the 112 calculation against the budget should be that you just agreed with Ms. Hine is inclusive of the department head salaries. Why is there a difference?
my 2020 budget was higher than my current budget because of my clerical salaries. Clerical was higher in 20 than it is in 21.
So if I look at your appropriated 2020 budget, which is 177,699, that number,
Yep,
and I
yep,
divide that by 12, I should come to the
Yep.
number that's in that column. I don't. We're off by about $100.
right. Because if you took my 2020 budget and you took off my 20 salary and then added in my annualized 21 salary and then divided by 12, you'll get the number that's in the 1/12 budget.
I didn't quite follow you, but let me ask you the question. Why can't we simply just take your requested FY21 budget at 0% and divide it by 12? Is that the same thing, Sharon?
I mean, we can, like I said, originally when I did this, I took strictly what DOR said was the 1/12 budget had to be at least
Not less than,
1/12 of
right.
the 20 budget.
Yep,
That was my base when I started.
correct.
I've made minor adjustments to all of those numbers going along. It's not an exact science. None of them are going to, you're not going to be able to say times 12 and come up with that exact number for too many of them. We've messed with all of them. I've updated all of them for the department head salaries, but the base for that budget to begin with was the 2020 budget, not 2021.
No, I think we all know that. I do. What I think we were looking for was just some pretty straightforward math. And the FY21 budget at 0% is effectively the FY20 budget. Would you agree with that, Sharon? If you take the FY20 budget and you don't grow it by anything, you call it FY21 at 0%. So as I'm looking at your...
Some it would be close, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, for mine,
Well, we're just talking about your budget right now to keep it simple because I'm confused. The math that I see is on your small account, and it's relatively small. We haven't even talked about the big ones yet. There's a disparity here, and I haven't got an answer on why it is off by as much as it is. I mean, let's just call it straight up. 174, which apparently is the right number, divided by 12. That's 14,557.33. The number that we see on the spreadsheet that you gave us this afternoon is 14,893.58. So we're off by that. Just your math here is off by $336 on that account, and it's not a ton of money. It's not really the delta. It's why. What is? I just don't understand where it went sideways.
the difference is the clerical salaries.
Okay, clerical is at 40. So you're showing 41,718. Is that the right number?
Yes. And last year's budget was 45,767. So there's a difference of $4,000 between my two clerical numbers from one fiscal year to the other. So if you take your difference of 300 and whatever, times it by 12, it's probably going to come close to, there's a $4,000 difference in my clerical salaries. I wasn't doing the 1/12 budget as an exact science. I was trying to get a 1/12 budget enough to cover us for 3 weeks before we actually vote the actual budget on July 23rd.
Mark, I have
Yes, go ahead,
two
Tina.
questions. So Sharon, it sounds the way you describe it that the clerical staff changed at some point during fiscal year 20 because something that was appropriate at the beginning of the fiscal year and it changed during the year. Is that correct?
She explained last night that the new clerical hire is making less than
Yeah.
the clerical hire.
But that
she
new
was
hire
budgeting
was-
Making less than my prior one.
Understood. That
Yeah.
hire was during this fiscal year at some point. That's, okay.
Correct.
And your interpretation, Sharon, here for this exercise is that each budget, not the total budget, but each budget for this 1/12 exercise we're going through, each one needs to be greater, no less than fiscal year 20.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, does that answer everyone's
It's
questions?
all At least 20 or higher.
For each particular budget.
Right.
I'm all set.
Your questions all set? Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the town accountant's budget?
I'll make a motion to approve the town accountant's budget at 174,688.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Sharon? While we've got you on the phone, we have to clean up last night's questions of several budgets. So let's start with the assessor's budget.
So the assessor's budget, as Kathy submitted it to me as her 0% budget. Hold on my screen. Sorry.
That's all right, take your time.
So the assessor's budget at 0% was $232,960, which
Okay.
is exactly what she had for her fiscal 20 budget.
And that included her salary.
That's her full annualized salary, yes.
Okay. Questions, Tina?
Just the same math we just did for your budget, Sharon. When we multiply what you have here of the 19,564.42 by 12, we get 234,768. I take your point about not an exact calculation on your part, but is there an explanation for that?
Let's see. Well, in looking at her budget compared to last year,
Yeah.
I think she's got more clerical in this year's budget than in her 20 budget.
Okay.
Is she, but is she still able to maintain the 0%?
So she reduced her professional services line. She took a little money from that and a little money from professional development in order to cover her clerical and her admin assistant.
Okay.
I mean, it's for those, it's 2 clerks and her 1 admin. Those are all still going through steps. So it's not steps with COLA, but they're still going through steps on the wage chart.
Right. Any other questions, Tina?
It's just tricky because we are not supposed to be approving budgets for this 1/12 budget that has new spending. Sorry, Sharon, but I don't hear an answer as to that I can follow as to why the 19,564 times 12 is 230. It's
This
hard,
is
it's hard for
all-
me to then say that this particular line item for this budget rather, for the assessors, does not represent new spending. I don't understand from the comments made so far why it's not 232,960 divided by 12. I may be,
Missing something?
I may be missing something. But the role I see myself playing here is to approve a 1/12 budget here that does not represent new spending. So I'm just looking for that information so that I can say with confidence that this 1/12 budget for the Board of Assessors for any of these departments is FY20 carried forward. So when I look at what was appropriated in fiscal year 20, when I look at what was adjusted for the 0% for FY21, I don't see the same information when I look at this 1/12. So that's the difficulty I'm having right now.
Okay, well, if this is, we've gotten through 2 lines, none of them are going to, you're not going to be able to take any one of those numbers, times it by 12, and get exactly to the 2021. So if that's the exercise we're going through, I don't want to tell you then we're going to do this again tomorrow night, but I will go through and I will redo the budget one more time, because none of them are going to work the way you're all trying to make it work.
Well, we just want to make sure that when the application
None
is
of this,
filled out.
none of this is new spending. None of it is new spending. It is clerks going through steps. It's our department heads' salaries that are being annualized. It's the jockeying of numbers, but I did not do any of this as an exact science. I did this as estimates, enough to get us approved for a budget for July 1st.
Okay, all right, I understand.
Budget,
John, do you have any comments?
No, I think the town accountant's got some work to do, so I think we should give her a chance to take another swing at it tomorrow night. In the meantime, we can go through the budgets, because I think the budgets that are presented to us, including her own, that show FY21 at 0%, that's pretty much where we need to land.
Right.
And if we want to get through these tonight as efficiently as possible, I think we can do so, and then just have Sharon clean that up for tomorrow evening.
Okay. And so your feeling, Sharon, is that all of the budgets, it will be the same situation? So you should take a look at all of them, and we'll do it tomorrow night?
if what you're looking for is 1/12 of 2021, then yes, we're going to have to do them all over again.
Okay.
That was,
Sharon, I have to say it again. I have to, no, if you don't mind, Sharon, what we're looking for is the not less than FY20 with the annualized department head salaries in each line item divided by 12. So those should be your FY21 zero-based budget. It's the same numbers. It's the same number. It should be. If it's not, we have to have a conversation. Pretty
Okay,
straightforward.
so we will continue on with budget reviews tomorrow night. And if you could, please get us the spreadsheet sooner than what you did tonight, because we need to review it before we come in. That would be
Yeah.
very helpful to us. Okay, thank you. We'll move on now to other board business.
Mark, we have the schools on, we have library on. Is there any part of the budget that is,
As long as we can get to the 0% budget with these other departments, that's fine. If they want to talk to us, the school department's on the line. Keith, do you want to talk about your budget?
I'll let the school committee budget subcommittee representative discuss where we're at.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, this is Andy Morton on behalf of the Budget Subcommittee of the School Committee. I'll let Keith take the difficult questions in a moment if you have any, but our voted on fiscal year 20 budget was $34,947,063.
Oh, can you just repeat that? 34,900,000 and what?
$34,947,263.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. 1/12 of that is $2,912,271.92.
Okay. And is that 34,947,263 at 0%? For
That is our FY 20 budget. We have voted an FY 21 budget, which is 0.55% over that.
okay, that may be an issue because of this program that we have to approve 0% budgets, and then we need to send it over to the Finance Committee for a week for their review, and then we've got to fill out the application and submission, and we have to make sure that we're following the guidelines by the Department of Revenue. They're not our guidelines, they're theirs, and we want to make sure we get approved. So, Tina, do you have any questions?
Well, Andy, if you could just speak to the impact of the 1/12 budget based off of fiscal year 20, the impact of that for the schools. I know there've been discussions in the budget subcommittee meetings.
Sure. Yeah, sure. There's, and Keith can probably speak a little more in detail about this. There won't be an immediate impact in July and potentially in August with regard to a typical year of spending our budget. This year, with a great deal of uncertainty around what we may need to figure out in order to open in some form in September, that may change. But typically, July and most of August is not, those aren't months where we're spending 1/12 of the actual budget. Keith, do you want to explain a little more about that?
Sure, Andy. Keith Boudet, School Business Manager. Again, our teacher payroll starts in September, so thus we pay across those 10 months. So thus we really don't, have a tremendous amount of expenses during this time, and the regulations coming from this are for us to have no less than 1/12 of last year's number. So from our perspective, town meeting when it's held the third week in July will set what the budgets are going to be for next year. So as long as you all vote 1/12, no less than 1/12 of our last year appropriation, the schools are all set until we get to town meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Because you're under obligation to deal with the FY 21 budget. You're not setting an FY 21 budget. You're setting a 1-month budget.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
John?
No questions.
No question. Okay. And do we have a motion to accept the school department's?
Yes. Do you want me to make it, Tina?
Yeah.
So against the FY 20 base budget, in this case of $34,947,263, I'll make a motion to approve the 1/12 budget for the schools at $2,912,272. Is that right, Andy?
I had
Yes.
271.
You gave us 8 cents. Thanks, John.
Give us 8 cents, but yeah.
271.92.
Well, coffee money.
I second that with the comment that the 8 cents is well-deserved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Incidentally, that number does match on Sharon's spreadsheet, so that
Right.
number did square.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Keith, and thank you very much, Andy.
Thank you.
All right. Board of Health.
Good evening. Based on the information you were just talking with Sharon about and kicking back of the 1/12 to the appropriated fiscal year, as I heard you previously in this evening, is there a way to get a copy of the written DOR guidance to the department? Because the way, again, I gave you the spreadsheet that was requested by Mr. Ritter based on the vote of the board. If you go by the appropriated number, I can take and run down those numbers fiscally, because it just, so you would take my appropriated number, divide that by 12, that would be the 7181 for the salary, then working your way down, that would come to for a salary account. So I will have to revise my spreadsheet for you, working across, being 11,982 for the quarter for salaries. Then that second section, I had stars as it relates to items that I need to be able to function for the first month. I need, if I have to have if you look at the start items, I included in the email to Mr. Ritter, the 250 about is needed in case we have to have a hazmat collection within that first month. The professional services, being again not 1/12, includes the testing of the pond for all of July. That is a major occurrence that is all of July. That's kind of front loaded in that end. And then the visiting nurse item, although we have visiting nurse and we have COVID covering the COVID items, the other diseases that typically come out in July that have investigations are Lyme disease, babesiosis, and hopefully not Triple E and West Nile virus. So therefore, I did not follow the 1/12 guideline in that first section because of those reasons. Again, correct. I can edit the spreadsheet because it sounds like you're looking for the appropriated salaries of 2020 to be the number that's divisible by 12, which would give me a 1/12 budget of 14,559 instead of the 14,714. Again, the minimum, if you look at the percent change, if you just went to a 1/12 guide of what was requested and voted by the board, it would be 13.8. So again, based on what you have just described to Sharon, you want the department heads to be going from their appropriated number of fiscal 20 and being used that number in line with the 1/12 division. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So again, then,
All right,
then I'll revise this and get this
And we'll
to
do
the
it
board. To the board, my request is going to be 14,559 in a revised, which would be a zero salary budget.
So
Or the appropriate.
so we'll plan
of
on,
FY 2020 of what you sent Sharon off to look at everybody's budget.
all right, so we'll plan on voting on your budget tomorrow night then.
All right, I'll give a revised one with those numbers for you based on what you just described to Sharon as being the, I'll add it as that extra column at the end of the requested based on the 2021. But again, it's been unclear. Selectmen asking one thing, Finance Committee looking at something else, and we still don't know the rules from the state level with the DOR guidance.
Well,
So it's been tough on all
Can I
department
ask him a question?
and,
Mr. Bowles, if I could ask you a question, you just stated it's been a little unclear. Could you please describe what you mean that it's been a little unclear?
in other words, this 1/12 budget, it's on exactly whether it's 1/12 of the whole, whether it's supposed to be 1/12 the whole omnibus budget, or is it 1/12 of each one of these individual budgets. You know, because the 1/12 of the omnibus budget is the whole town budget, which is, you know, got other items, not
Sure.
just town departments.
So first of all, if you're
It's not
looking,
just a simple
okay, sure, if you're looking for the
divide by
guidance,
12.
Scott, on that, please go visit the Mass Department of Revenue guidelines for fiscal year 21 1/12 budgets, or we can send that over to you. The guideline is pretty clear.
Okay,
It's your FY20 budget, not less
Yep.
than that amount in a 1/12 budget to begin fiscal year 21. And so what
Okay.
we've asked Ms. Emmerich to do is to look at the FY20 budgets, make sure that the annualized salaries for the department heads, which of course were not appropriated directly in there at town meeting, are put into the line
Right.
items that we're looking at as the base now. And then you take that number, divide it by 12.
right, so that would mean, that, again, that would mean the requested item divided by 12 in my budget needs to be corrected.
Yes.
For what was truly appropriated.
Right.
Not,
That's correct.
not what's being requested.
That's correct.
All right, I understand that better.
Okay.
Excellent.
Great. All right, let's move
And
on
then
then.
I'll forward a new one on for tomorrow night.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and we'll vote on it tomorrow night. Thank you, Scott. Parks and Recreation. Mr. Frank.
Having me tonight. So our budget looks pretty get down to on account of the fact that our budget only consists of salaries. The assistant director's salary, we pay 25% of the field supervisor's salary, collectively bargained through the highway department. So we came in slightly over. I actually have just a placeholder as a 0% increase on that field supervisor's salary, but that may just become available yet, what that contract negotiation comes out to. So the only way I could foresee getting to 0% would be a reduction in my hours. So I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to look for some guidance on where exactly the board is looking for us to take this budget for this year.
You have some, go ahead, Gina.
So Mark, I'm looking at the request for fiscal year 2021 of $131,009.
Yeah.
Okay. And what you're saying is if we take what was appropriated for fiscal year 2020, the 129,367, and we do a 12th of that for July, so we take the 20 budget, do a 12th of that, and that's what you get for July, that's going to have an impact on staffing for you.
Yeah, the only way to make that work would be to reduce hours for myself. I think would be the first place to do that. I wouldn't. I'm already scheduled for more than Lisa. It just,
Yeah.
there's no discretionary
Yeah,
spending in our
okay.
budget.
So what you're saying is in July, you'd be cutting your hours to make that work.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. So I would suggest then that we, because we can go over fiscal year 20, I think that's significant. I mean, Mark runs the summer programs. I mean, their staffing is, I'm going to say the demands are higher in the summer. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, but that's my guess, Mark, is that the staffing demands are much more significant in the summer, as is your supervisory managerial role over the summer. I don't see any sort of benefit in having Mark reduce his hours in July. And they're trying to adapt their summer programming to this pandemic response, and so to reduce Mark's hours is to undermine all of those efforts, is my opinion on that. So my suggestion would be is that we take what he's requested for FY21 and make that the base for the 1/12. That would be the comment I had.
Comments, John?
Hey, Mark, how are you? A couple of questions.
Well,
Let's see, your appropriated fiscal year budget on this sheet is 129,367. does that number, do you have that budget in front of you, Mark?
I do, I'm looking at it, yeah.
129,367. So that salary, is that the salary that has your pay increase in it?
Well, so interesting, that's the one that was sent along. The number on my contract is actually the number on fiscal year. Not exactly sure why that is the case, but that's what, the the contract that I signed, I looked at today to make sure that that everything here was what it should be, and I'm not sure where that 66579 came from, to be totally honest with you, but that's what was sent to me when we were doing budget, when I initially got the budget from the accountant's office.
Is it safe to say that if you take the requested fiscal year budget of 131,009, that looks like your 1% increase budget, is that right?
No, actually, that is so there's a contractually obligated step increase for the assistant director, and that makes up for, I believe that makes up for the difference there. I can double check with Darren exactly where the difference in that 66,579 number and the 67.
Okay. Well,
7.
Mark,
I don't know.
There appears to be some smaller details that have to be ironed out in your budget in terms of what it should be for the full fiscal year. And that's what the FinCom does, right? That's their job. But for tonight, I wanted to understand, to Tina's point, you seem to have the reverse problem of the schools, right? Yeah. The schools are not going to be that much in business for July and likely August. But you guys, that's your high season. So you're spending more in July than you probably would in December. Is that a fair statement?
It is, John, except that I would just give the caveat that there are some hurdles that we still need to get through to make sure that we can actually end up operating to the extent that we normally would in July. There is some guidance. We have CDC guidelines and we have American Camp Association guidelines, but the state has really yet to weigh in on whether or not those guidelines are what Massachusetts is going to adapt for running summer programming, which puts us in obviously a tough spot. But we are planning as if those previous guidelines that we've gotten from other organizations are what we're going to be able to operate under, and that if that is the way it goes, then I can absolutely say that Tina's assessment of the situation is also mine.
May I ask if you've spoken to Chief Cassidy about looking at CARE Act money to offset some of the expenses that you just listed that clearly come from a COVID-related experience? Have you had that opportunity?
I have, absolutely, and I think even more so, Tina was on our last Parks Board call and brought to my attention that there might even be some relief in the form of, I think it would technically be a Board of Health employee that helps in, that helps with compliance in terms of camp operations and things like that, which I've also talked to Mr. Moles about. So there's potential from a lot of places from that CARES Act to give us some relief. Sure. Okay? That we're exploring with both emergency management and Board of Health at this point. Sure.
Okay. You're going to have a very active budget season, I can tell already, Mark. Well, the purpose of this exercise, of course, is to make sure that we look at any impact on town services and as well on any personnel issues associated with going 112. If we were to vote on a 112 budget for parks, Mark, recognizing that your cash flow is in question, have you given us a proposed amount of what that ought to be for the month of July?
So the actual dollar amount that I would anticipate going over at this point would be about $150 over a 0% guideline. So in real dollars, it's a little different from the percentages we're talking about. So I'm not exactly sure if that answers your question, John, but that's what the amount of money would be that we would be over if you approve the 131,009 number today. But I don't know if we need to do that. I just kind of wanted to update you guys on the concept behind what we're thinking.
Right. We wouldn't be approving the 131. Right. That's
right.
That's FinCom land. That they look at the full fiscal year. we're trying to just establish what's a good base and then divide it by 12. If you're suggesting that's the right base, divide it by 12, I think we're where we need to be. So that number, if I could, Mark, do some
Yeah.
quick math here. 131,009 divided by
12.
Yes, sir.
10,917.41. Or 4.
Now, how does that number sit compared to the other number that you heard earlier? Is that better? Does that get you through July with your obligations without any staff hour reductions?
Yeah, that absolutely gets us through July.
Can you
So
give me that
what-
total again? 10,009?
Yeah.
10,917
Okay.
would be the
Yep.
112.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve a 112 budget of 10,917 for Parks and Rec, and that's against a projected FY21 budget of 131,009. Although we don't approve the big budget, we're just doing the 112. So,
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mark, good luck.
Thank
Got
you,
a
Mark.
tough year
Thanks,
ahead
Jack.
there. Good luck, buddy. Keep up the good work.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mark.
All right.
Incidentally, the number on Sharon's sheet was close, but not on.
About 100 and so,
Yeah.
75 off? No.
And,
50
yeah,
no.
she's at 10,881. This was 10,917, so there's still some cleanup there
Okay.
as we make our way through these.
Library. We have a representative of the library.
I do. I'm here.
Hi, how are you?
Leslie.
Leslie?
How are you, Leslie?
Good, thank you.
So let's go over your 112 budget.
Okay, so we met the zero guideline, so we're all set.
Okay.
And I've divided by 12. The only obstacle I can see, and I don't think it's really a big obstacle, we normally pay our whole Minuteman fee in July, which is $30,000, almost $30,000. But we could either pay them a 12th of that. I mean, it's not like we're going anywhere. They know where we are.
Right.
Or put it off until August.
Okay.
That's the only, like, really huge payment that we normally make. We
Yeah.
normally do that in July, but we would be okay if we paid it in August.
Okay. And is your salary, your adjusted salary from last year, within the 112 budget?
It's correct, yes.
Okay. Did that come out right to you, Tina?
Yeah, I'm just looking at what Sharon has on what she gave in the 112th budget, and she's got $43,000 here, $43,000, $43,059. So if we took Leslie's 515 and divide that by 12, we get a little bit less, just a little bit less.
Getting 42,916.8.
Leslie, if you pay later or you pay 1/12 on the Minuteman as a subscription, are you penalized or
No,
is there?
we pay the whole year. No, we pay the whole year.
Okay.
It's in the bylaws that we need to pay it by September. That's why I'm not too
okay.
worried about it. To pay a 12th in July, or we could just pay the whole thing in August.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. They know where we are.
Okay.
Right.
I'm not too worried. I think either way would be okay. They don't want you to go, beyond September 1st. That's the
Sure.
thing.
John, any questions?
No, I think consistent with the others, we'll stick with what's presented at $515,003 as a 0% FY21 budget. Using that divided by 12, I think I agree with Leslie's number. That would be a 1/12 of 42,917.
917.
We're rounding up, Leslie.
Okay.
Okay, sounds
So
good.
we're in agreement, Leslie?
Just need to second it.
We are.
Can we have a motion, John?
Motion to approve the 112 budget for the library at 42,917.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. Veterans.
Thanks, Leslie.
Veterans Services.
So I would request, Mr. Chairman, we can wait until tomorrow on that one.
Okay. We will wait till tomorrow. So the rest that I have is the veterans, the planning board, Economic Development, and,
We have Jackie on the line.
what's that?
Jackie, Youth and Family
Town
Services.
accountant.
Town Accountant we approved after discussion.
Okay. Did we approve the assessors?
Assessors, we did not, well, actually, I do have it checked off as approved. Jeff, can you look in your notes?
Yep.
I believe we did approve the assessors.
No, I have hold until tomorrow.
You do? Okay. I have it checked off improperly then. All right, so all of those we're going to look at tomorrow with a new spreadsheet from the town accountant. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, let's move on to some board business.
We have Jackie for Youth and Family Services. Her
I'm
budget.
here,
Oh.
Youth and Family Services.
Oh, okay. Is hers correct, though? Is that one of the ones that we need to? Ooh.
Pulling it up.
Let's have a quick look.
We did not talk about her budget last night. We talked last night about purchases, software purchases.
Oh,
So
okay,
this is
that's
the
what it
first
was.
time conversation.
I
for-
knew that we talked to her, so I was a little hesitant. Okay, Jackie, great. Let's go over your budget
Okay, so,
for the 112 budget.
yep, so the salary lines show an increase due to department head increases. The admin assistant, line 51110, there's a deficit there, and we talked about this when I came before the board, initially to talk about my budget. There was a mistake that happened at town
I had a
meeting.
hard time hearing her.
Can you speak up a little, please?
I'm sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. I was just pointing out the deficit again on the admin assistant line.
Okay.
That has to do with last year, grade increase. It went from I'm not sure if it went from a grade 400 to a grade 500 or a grade 300 to a grade 400.
Okay.
And you informed the finance committee about that?
We talked about this, and it's going to be a line item transfer at the end of the year.
Got it.
To
Okay.
cover. I took the DFC request off the table due to the uncertainty in budget, so that it would be a 0% increase to
Okay.
the professional services line.
Okay.
And my hope is that in October we can look at that again.
All right.
That was an important program, and I thought we had a lot of good momentum across departments for that program. So I understand that these are unprecedented times and that we need to be fiscally responsible, but it is something that I hope we can go back to in October.
Okay.
And everything else remains the same to get us to the 0%.
Okay. And so if we divide by 12, what do you have as a total, Jackie?
My total is, for FY '21, 148,254.
Okay.
1/12 of that I get as $12,354.50.
Is that what you have, Jackie?
I actually didn't divide it by 12. I'm just joining on, but it seems like that's what everybody's doing. So if I did the quick math, I believe that is what it would be.
Okay.
Come out to.
Well, I just want to concur that we're in agreement before we vote on it. So take your time and take a look at it. Make sure you're concurring with Tina.
So you're dividing that 148 number by 12,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Tina?
yeah.
Yes, that is what I have as well.
Okay.
Great.
Any questions, John?
Hi, yes, Jackie, couple quick questions. Good evening. The salary for that line item that you just mentioned would be 77,917. That doesn't have an increase. That's just your base plus your increase from FY20, correct?
Hold on. Except for, so in 2020 it was 77,684, and then in 21 it's 77,917.
Right, you got a pay increase in FY20, correct?
That was a COLA. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. Yes, so
Yeah.
right, you're speaking about all department heads in FY20.
Yeah, so that 77,917 is the salary with the adjustment made to it. Yes.
It is?
Yes.
And then obviously the other bigger increase Jackie just explained was the correction for the clerical staff.
That's
So
Right, right.
Yep.
I'm fine with her presentation. I'll
Okay.
make a motion if you'd like, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please do.
I'll make a motion to approve the 112 budget for youth and family services at $12,355. We're
354.57.
rounding up, my friend.
Okay, round up. Okay, very good. Do we have a
Extra 50
second?
cents. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you very much, Jackie.
And you can get through the month of July with that number, right?
Yeah.
Jackie, is there unfinished business from last night?
I do believe the board was looking for the total amount for the price breakdown of the Simple Practice electronic medical record software
Yeah.
and the up to our telco. Right now we're operating under a free account. So that total number, as vetted by Chris Mayo as of an hour ago, is $4,224. So
4,000.
I'm looking for,
Yep.
4224?
yes,
Any
What
questions?
number did we
Stan?
carry last night, Jeff, do you remember?
It was like 3,000, I forget.
So we need to
3,200.
amend the
Yeah.
motion from last evening to include, this was the dual motion, right?
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to amend last night's motion to approve first a reserve fund transfer of $4,224.
Okay,
In the event that the finance committee doesn't see fit that transfer does not meet the test of a reserve fund transfer, then I'll make the same motion to approve a line item transfer of $4,224.
as presented by the town accountant last night, that we could do a line item.
Yeah, she had no
That-
preference.
Right, that was,
I second that motion.
all those in favor, say
Aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries, thank you. Okay,
Thanks, Jackie.
thank you, Jackie. Now, I believe that's all we can do for tonight regarding the budget reviews, unless somebody else sees something else that we've missed. But Sharon's gonna get us some new numbers for tomorrow night, so we should be able to clean this up tomorrow night, okay? All right. Other board business, town hall barriers. Jeff?
I'll turn it over to
James
Mr. Keast. Hi there.
Hello.
Hi, Jan. Yeah.
So we have on the agenda a issue with town hall barriers. Where are we at? That?
I couldn't hear you, Jeff.
Town hall barriers, where are we with that?
Okay, so I reached out to 6 companies to get bids to install permanent fixed glass barriers at the service counters at the town hall, 6 of them. The lowest bidder was Franklin Glass. They came in at $14,252. It doesn't include the cost of the barrier that I was discussing with Mark Frank at Parks and Rec. There's a service counter there. She had Frank Glass over there yesterday. And that cost for that barrier, I didn't get an exact amount, but it would be less than $1,000, probably about $800. So the total request for this project is $15,500, not to exceed. There's a document a notice to proceed document that was actually signed by the board, by Mark, the chairman, a couple weeks ago. But we do need a vote of the board to move forward.
as well as signatures on the reserve fund transfer document so that we can begin this project.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Mr. Keys, do I hear you correctly that the motion should be to approve up to $15,500?
That's correct.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then you
Thanks, James.
needed a second motion.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Hi, Mark.
You needed a second motion?
There is a reserve fund document, a reserve fund transfer document that I believe Jeff may have. It's going to require some signatures.
Okay. Do we need to vote?
And
We
then
need
last-
to vote on that? Or
Did
have
we
we
already
already?
It's not in there. It's not in there.
What's the reserve fund for, Mr. Keys?
It's the transfer for the cost of putting in the barriers.
$15,500.
So we approved the request that now goes to the Finance Committee.
Right. But it hasn't been signed yet. We haven't prepared the paperwork.
Okay, so the paperwork will follow.
Yeah, tomorrow,
Um,
maybe
But
tomorrow.
we can vote on
But
it.
we just did.
Reserve fund transfer.
But we just did.
Yeah, but we didn't vote on the reserve fund transfer itself.
No, you just voted
Yeah,
on that.
that's-
We voted on the appropriating the money.
Right, it's just that the paperwork is following up.
Oh, okay.
It'll come
The
up.
appropriation comes in the form of the transfer,
Mhm.
which is the paperwork. And it's not here, but will it be here tomorrow night?
Hopefully,
But they're meeting, what, next Tuesday?
yes.
Okay, so we have 2 more meetings.
So we got
can
2 more
sign it.
meetings that we can finalize. Okay.
Is there anything else besides that, James, besides the reserve transfer request for the 15.5?
No, that's it. And just so you know, I did have that expense, the $15,500 was put on Chief Cassidy's COVID expense spreadsheet, and I had it as pending, so he knows that it hasn't been officially approved yet, but likely it would be approved and is now on that sheet for reimbursement.
Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
All right. Policy for the sale of goods on sidewalks. Do you want to read some of this?
Sure.
We
So,
did talk about it already, but there might be residents who are on tonight who,
yeah, this is in response to the business community, especially the downtown businesses, coming out to look for some town support on helping them recover and respond, recover from the effects of the pandemic and then respond to the phased reopening of our economy and so on. And so what they're looking for is help in the form of the ability to hold sales outside on the sidewalks, perhaps parking lots in front of or around their buildings.
in the village commercial,
Well, village commercial and commercial districts.
commercial district,
There are businesses in either of those 2 districts that probably have some interest in being able to take advantage of not enforcing the need for a special permit. So we have special permits the requirement for a special permit that currently would prevent a business in quickly, being able to hold a temporary outdoor sale. And so this is to say that the town will not enforce the need for the special permit if the merchant applies for permission through this board, that this board will consult with the emergency management director and the Board of Health before approving this request on any one particular merchant's behalf. But again, the effect would be to hold or waive the enforcement of the need for a special permit to hold an outdoor sale.
and these permits would need to have a time frame.
Correct. We would be asking the merchants to provide a start and an end date for temporary sales. We'd be asking them to provide some specifics. So kind of went through and reviewed our zoning bylaws. We took feedback from the building inspector. We took feedback from the town planner. We took feedback from Chief Cassidy. We took some feedback from the business community as well. And so there are some conditions to being granted the permission through this policy to hold an outdoor sale. Those are defined here. I can read them, or you can read them.
And this could be on our website too.
Sure, yep.
So that would
Correct.
be helpful. But
Yep.
yes, if you don't mind reading those conditions.
So the conditions for a merchant to hold a temporary outdoor sale would be to display goods or merchandise on a temporary movable structure. They would be required to maintain a minimum of 36 inches of accessible passage along either public or private way. They would maintain existing fire lanes, including a linear space of 18 feet in front of the merchant's building if there were no sidewalk. They would take reasonable steps to ensure patrons do not smoke while shopping in the outdoor space. They will adhere to, I assume at this point, the yet-to-be-released retail-specific mass COVID-19 checklist for safety standards. So these will be available to merchants once Phase 2 begins. These include, but are not limited to, the standard safety precautions. So mandatory face coverings for all employees, mandatory face coverings for all patrons, social distancing measures, and opportunities for hand washing or hand sanitizing. And again, those are state minimum safety standards. There will be additional safety standards that all these businesses will understand when Phase 2 comes and the retail-specific checklist is
Right.
available for them. So those are kind of the conditions for consideration.
And then we could update when we get those
Sure.
conditions from the governor.
Right.
But we could at least put this up on the town website in the meantime.
Right, so I guess my question would be is when would we start taking, if we approve this, when would we start to accept requests? Would we wait until Phase 2 has begun? Would we consider doing it beforehand? I think the merchants would benefit from us taking the requests beforehand so that they can plan accordingly and be prepared if they know that they can do this.
Did the emergency preparedness director or the health director have any issues starting this before we get more clearance with the next phase from the governor?
None that was expressed, no. No, and the policy is clear that this is for, this temporary outdoor sale policy exists or is in place only for Phase 2 through Phase 4, right?
Okay.
Well, I think Phase 4 goes on forever, but, it doesn't start until Phase 2 begins.
And Phase 2 is supposed to start when?
I want to say they were giving it a roughly 3-week time period from May 18th, but all of that is contingent upon state numbers, which nobody here has the ability to know ahead of time. So it could be more than 3 weeks out. I don't think it will be less than 3 weeks out from May 18th.
Okay. John, comments, questions?
I love this. I can't thank the folks enough for doing it. I think it's a meaningful step for some business in town, which I've always thought we need to do more and more of. So I fully embrace it. The only question I had as I was reading it was answered at the bottom, was indemnification. It's there, so I'm happy. And I agree with you, Mark. I was thinking the same thing. Put it on the website. Make it easy for merchants to apply and embrace the opportunity. Before we go too far, I just want to let this board know I was approached by a member of the Parks and Rec this week who was offering picnic tables that are currently at Stoddard, I think, that are not being used, that can be moved for use by open dining. If that is the case, I've asked Chief Cassidy to evaluate where some of these benches can be relocated temporarily until the park's open, and he's doing that right now. Those resources, there are not a ton of them. There's only a few of them. Nevertheless, could be helpful to some of the merchants to help pedestrians and others keep social distance yet enjoy the area. So
That's very nice of the park commissioners.
So you say dining outside. I think al fresco, which brings up alcohol, and I'll just point out that this policy would not change any zoning bylaw that prohibits consumption of alcohol or service of alcohol in an outdoor area. So if others are like me and hear outdoor meals and think,
Right.
consumption of alcohol perhaps outside, this policy does not touch that.
So perhaps the motion to approve should be contingent upon the second phase, the beginning of the second phase?
So it's in here, it's in the policy. This doesn't apply, it's not relevant until, my only question would be, when do we start accepting the requests?
I would say
as soon as possible.
Yeah.
As soon as possible, and then as soon as we...
It's just not effective until...
Until the governor, yeah. Yeah, I would say as soon as possible.
Okay.
And if you could make some sort of a public announcement about this policy, Jeff, to help get the word out, that would be great. Maybe a little something on the Holliston Reporter would be wonderful, and HCAT. John, I'll take a motion, sir.
A motion to approve the proposed temporary outdoor sales policy as described and read by Ms. Hine.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank
Great.
you. Review of annual town meeting warrant. Jeff?
I have nothing to report since last night.
Okay, I don't have anything. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
Just to confirm, town meeting is July 20th, I believe it is?
Yes.
And town meeting warrants have to close, is it 2 weeks before that town meeting?
Well, technically it's 7 days, but we'd like to do 2 weeks.
So we've got some time, pretty
But
much
we
the month
need-
of
we
June
need
to
any-
work through.
We do need any capital requests
Mhm.
with our capital request policy from
Yep.
everyone from the school committee
Yep.
on down.
The board really needs to focus on the warrant
Right.
and figure out what you want to do with it.
Right, so we
And
need
start trimming it or
Mhm.
leave it as it is.
Right,
Agreed.
okay. Year-end reserve fund transfers,
We have nothing?
we have nothing right now.
Nope.
Did the one for
Just the one for,
Mr. Keith, then has to be
Mr. Keith.
signed when the paperwork is
Yep.
available.
yeah, we won't have the paperwork, well, okay. Any other business, Mrs. Hine?
Yes, two things. We need to come back and revisit the motion we made last night, if we can do this, Mark. In regards to changing the crosswalk on Central Street, we do not need to amend rules and orders, our traffic rules and orders. There's no need to certify or register the crosswalk, so that's confirmed with the town clerk. It's also confirmed with AECom, who is an engineering firm who does safe routes to school work. So I reached out to them today to say, hey, look, where does this stand when you do these new crosswalks in a community in terms of certifying or registering them? We obviously have enforcement questions
Right.
or pieces to this that we want to make sure. If it needs to be in our rules and orders for traffic, then we should make sure it is. And the feedback from both the town clerk and from AECom is that there's no need to change or add rather crosswalks to the traffic rules and orders. So
Because the select board is the town road surveyor, has that authority.
sure, that's one interpretation for sure. So what I would do is ask to consider amending the motion or changing the motion to simply moving the crosswalk to a new location and directing the highway department to perform that work.
As presented last night on the plan.
Correct, yes. So last night we had made a motion to request an order from the highway department in order to proceed with the work. It does not look like from, asking the questions today that that's necessary. So if you'd consider it, Mark, I don't know, do we just change the order from, yes?
Yeah, I think we just changed the motion from.
How many crosswalks, I believe there were 3 that you were changing? You were adding 2 and deleting 1? Is
We
that
were
correct?
removing 2, adding 1.
Removing 2, adding 1. They were all on Central Street?
They're all on Central Street.
So I'll make a motion, because you did a presentation, we have a document for a referral. The highway superintendent and Department of Public Works director, they understand what those changes are.
Yeah.
So
And
I'll
they have
make
a copy of the document.
Yep, I give it to Sean.
Perfect.
Sorry, so we're removing, say it one more time.
We are removing 2 crosswalks on Central,
Yeah.
and we are adding 1 crosswalk on Central.
In reality, the 2 are gone.
They're gone now, correct?
They were effectively ground when we repaved Central Street. So for the purposes of the record, I'll make a motion now to revisit last night's decision, omit the need for rules and order, and proceed with a motion to approve the relining and application of 1 new crosswalk from Aronian Way across Central Street towards the other. It wasn't a direct line, by the way.
It
was
needed to be a little bit angled, yes.
with an appropriate ADA compliant on-ramp. The other 2, I don't think we need to take any action on. They're not there.
Fair enough.
So
Correct.
that's my motion.
And the motion probably should include as the design that was presented.
The location that was presented, correct?
Yep.
Correct.
Do we have a second?
Second, with the comment that the location, Jeff, should be documented as the walkway by the fire station across to the sidewalks on Central Street.
All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Motion
Sorry,
carries.
yes. Okay.
Thank you.
I have one more thing, Mark, if I may.
Yes.
Jeff, we got word that the Golf Club Advisory Committee has approved by vote $8,187. So is it possible to respond to, I think, Sean's request to go ahead and purchase?
It should be on the agenda.
Okay. It'll be an agenda
It
item?
should be an agenda item,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I got.
If you can put it on the nearest agenda possible. Any other business? Yes, sir.
I wanted to let the board know I checked in with Representative Dykema. As you know, she's been very active and helpful on behalf of our town through these times, and I wanted to see if there was any activity on the Hill related to FY21 budget or other matters, and she reports the following. There really aren't any updates at this point, except that the House Ways and Means just reported out a bill to allow towns to reduce town meeting quorums. And she expects the bill will be finalized within the next week. That's meaningful as we envision what the town meeting will look like if we, for some reason, get the benefit of a bill signed by the governor to lower or change how quorum can be achieved. That will feed into Chief Cassidy's plan, so it's very timely. She's also confirming, Jeff, and I think you can confirm as well, that both the representative and Senator Spilker are due before the board on June 22nd.
Correct.
Right.
So we thank Representative Dykman for that update.
Very nice.
Mark, can I just add one
Yes.
somewhat related comment? I was on an MMA call to discuss the CARES Act and reimbursement to access that funding. It was made clear in that meeting by the Office of Administration and Finance that there may be changes coming to make the money available for the town of Holliston, for any community for that matter, available for revenue shortfalls in fiscal year 21. So I just wanted, we don't have the answer, that answer is not known, but there's discussion, I guess, at the federal level that they may change the guidelines so that what's currently not available to be used for revenue shortfalls may be available for revenue shortfalls. And I think that it's a big unknown, but I think it's worth keeping an eye on because I think it would have
Absolutely.
most likely some significant effects for any
And
community.
thanks for keeping an eye on that.
I think the finance chair is also paying close attention, so
Right.
I would defer to him on, you know, the final interpretation of these changes, but I just want to share that was information discussed last week.
Wonderful. Thank you. One other matter under other business, I just wanted to publicly wish Jeff's assistant, Andrea Minahan, our very
Okay,
best.
yeah, that's right.
And we hope that she'll be back to work soon.
Yep.
Thank you. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at 8:18 p.m.
And Mr. Cronin.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank
Good night,
you.
folks, and thanks for listening.